This is Kentucky Afield Radio. This is Ron Rohde, Kentucky Afield's first host back in 1953. Now, I'm proud to present Charlie Bagley.
Winter doesn't fly by, but spring and summer sure do. So we have to act fast. Summer fun and outdoor adventure are calling, and my guests today have all the answers. Plus, we shed a little light on the wildlife of the night sky. Plus, we'll tell you which day to circle on your calendar this summer for the most radical day to be fishing in Lake Barkley ever. Next on Kentucky Afield Radio.
Hi, I'm Sadie. When I was born in '94, so was an idea. Kentucky Nature License Plates. Over the years, they've featured butterflies, hummingbirds, and two words: nature's finest. These plates have helped safeguard more than 80,000 acres of wilderness areas, a number that's grown as I have, and I can't wait to see what's down the road. See with me. Next time you renew, choose a nature plate and pick the plate that keeps the bluegrass green.
What's wrong?
I caught my wife in a lie.
That's bad.
We're fishing, right?
Yeah.
She catches a catfish, 4-pounder, claims it was a 7, snaps a picture, sends it to all her friends.
And they bought it?
Yeah, people believe her.
You taught her well.
Indeed I did.
Your Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife reminds you, fishing's not about math, it's about fun.
And fudge it a little if you need to.
Kentucky Fishing, be honest.
It'll make a liar out of you.
Welcome to Kentucky Afield Radio. Also, welcome to summer. Halfway gone already. This is Charlie Baglin, and this summer stands apart from any we have known in decades. In fact, I was talking to Chad Miles and the Kentucky Afield TV crew, and I said, you all need to be on Lake Barkley fishing on August 21st as darkness falls. Not at night, but early in the afternoon. That's the day of the Great American Eclipse, and their eyes lit up just like the sun itself. It's now on the TV schedule. You should be there too. More details on that in the next half hour. First up, a fellow we talk to once every season is here to highlight summer adventure activities in the bluegrass, Mr. Seth Wheat from the Office of Adventure Tourism. Glad you're here.
Thanks, Charlie. Happy to be here again.
We've talked about a lot of things in the show, you and I, but never, ever once wedding and honeymoon planning. I think this would be the time to do it, given your pending nuptials.
Yes.
When is the big day?
October 7th.
Let's say you wanted to actually honeymoon in Kentucky.
Sure.
Are there some places you would designate the honeymoon suite, maybe a little off the beaten path?
Well, if you are an adventurous couple, I think we have some really neat options for kind of a little bit of an alternative honeymoon. We've got a number of state parks. If you like to do outdoor activities, if you like to hike, if you like to paddle, mountain bike, maybe ride horses, then we have a lot of state parks. Most of them will fit the bill. If you want a more adventurous, more out in the woods style of honeymoon, you can get a cabin, you can get a lodge room, or you can camp if you really want to rough it, you know. And that could be anything from pulling a camper or going on a more backcountry style camp out. And then we've also got a number of other public properties like the Danaboo National Forest.
Certainly.
Which is home to our longest trail, the Sheltowee Trace.
You could spend the honeymoon hiking.
You could spend your entire honeymoon hiking and backpacking the Sheltowee Trace if you wanted.
Mammoth Cave, I guess, would also be a place.
Absolutely. They have a really nice system of trails. The Green River cuts right through the heart of Mammoth Cave. Mm-hmm. On the backcountry portion of the park, there's miles upon miles, I think something like 70-some miles of trails over there. So, you know, there again, you can spend several days backpacking through Mammoth Cave if you want.
I've hiked extensively Red River Gorge, and I've also hiked a lot at Mammoth Cave National. I say hike, backpack, go out in the woods with camping gear.
Yeah, sure.
And I noticed that Mammoth Cave National Park, on the surface, you think of Mammoth Cave as going into caves, but the surface area is often overlooked. And the hiking is very similar to the hiking in Red River Gorge without all of the strenuously steep hills.
every time I talk about Mammoth Cave, the idea is we talk about the longest cave system in the world, but I always remind people there's so much fun stuff to do above ground there. Don't just go for the caves. Go see everything there is to do there. So that's absolutely right. There's good horseback riding there, and there is an ever-increasing amount of excellent mountain biking trails there.
Let me put in a couple of plugs for Cumberland Falls. Great place, especially if you can go during the moonbow. Also, like for a bit of romance, something that you just never would ever see is these huge sky bridges. Natural Bridge State Resort Park.
Yeah.
The quaintness of Kentucky, you can find that pretty much anywhere you want to go, from Louisville to somewhere out off the beaten path.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a number of bed and breakfasts. Some of them new that are popping up all over the state, and a lot of them are located in places like the Gorge or near Big South Fork or some of our more, outdoor destinations. So that's always an option, too.
Well, Seth, here we are, almost middle of summer, as we talk about things to see and do in the Kentucky countryside, the 99 Days of Summer.
This is a promotion we have done for several years. It was very popular last year, so we brought it back again. And basically, it is an interactive calendar that lives on our website, KentuckyTourism.com, and it highlights a special activity or a special place, something unique about Kentucky, every day for 99 days from the middle of May through Labor Day. So if you ever need inspiration for something to do while you're off on summer break, if you've got the kids home from school and you think, what are we going to do this weekend? Or what are we going to do for vacation? Hop on there, KentuckyTourism.com/99 days, and you can find all sorts of activities and things going on, places to see that you may not have been to before. And then what we would also ask is for you to share your adventures with us. Everybody's on social media now, so if you're out participating in one of our 99 days activities, use the hashtag KYSummer, and that'll help populate all the fun stuff that people are doing when they're traveling through Kentucky this summer.
What's some of the key things on this 99 Days of Summer?
Well, I've got a list here, and mine, of course, are mainly geared towards our more outdoor and adventurous offerings.
Sure.
But at the end of July 25th, we highlight paddling in Kentucky, which you and I have talked about several times, and if nobody has heard me talk about that, we have so many rivers and creeks and streams in this state, and lakes, that are great for paddling. If you want some difficult Class 4, Class 5 whitewater that only experienced paddlers, if you're a very experienced paddler, if you like that kind of adrenaline rush, we can put you on a river for that. If you've never been in a canoe or kayak and you want to try it out, we've got plenty of places that you can try that also.
Some flat water. Some easy places.
So July 25th is all about paddling in Kentucky. August 15th, we're highlighting bike and mountain bike trails. We seem to be getting more and more trails for mountain bikes in this state, which is a good thing. That's always good to get more of those. So we've got some great single track, and we also have a great amount of road cycling opportunities in Kentucky. We just talked about how Lexington and Points West aren't necessarily flat, but it's a more rolling topography generally, and that's really good. Road cyclists tend to like that, so you can make a day out of it and ride around central Kentucky or wherever else you happen to be on August 15th for the mountain bike day.
August 21st, of course, the 99 days, we're just hitting a few of them. August 21st is something unique going on. Hasn't happened in I can't remember how many years. The total eclipse of the sun. It's going to be seen all across the nation. All across the nation, from one ocean to the other, from the Pacific to the Atlantic, and it passes right through western Kentucky. Coming up, it's going to be clear. In our next half hour, we're going to have an astronomer on. We're going to have the spokesperson on from Hopkinsville. Excellent. Give us a little extra advice. Hopkinsville is the epicenter. It's the point of the totality, I believe is the term, where the most complete and total eclipse can be seen is Hopkinsville, Kentucky. But for the longest duration. The longest duration. You can get online. On our website, we've built a special webpage for the eclipse, KentuckyTourism.com/eclipse. Did you know, Seth, that a fourth of the constellations out there are actually named for wild animals? I did not know that. We're going to find out more about that in the next half hour. Here, I got something for you. This is not new, but this is something that's been happening for, I believe, over 45 years, and it ties into something we were talking about earlier. We mentioned Natural Bridge State Park, which we've talked about numerous times. They have something that goes on throughout the summer down there called the hoedown. And if you don't know what a hoedown is, it's a square dance with a collar, very traditional kind of dance. And if you visit Natural Bridge State Park, if you've ever stayed at the lodge and looked out your lodge window, you'll see it down below the lodge in the little river they've got built there called Hoedown Island. And like I said, it's been happening for over 45 years, and
seeing as how Natural Bridge is one of our most adventurous state parks for all the trails and activities you can do there, it's a really fun thing to do while you're visiting. Go see Natural Bridge and go to the Natural Bridge Hoedown.
They're fun. That's Appalachian heritage at its best. Before we go to break, let me give this reminder. Hunter education. Get it while it's hot. If you're planning to hunt for the first time this fall, say deer archery season or fall turkey, or maybe dove hunting that first weekend of September, and you don't have your hunter education certification yet, time will get away from you if you don't go ahead and get this scheduled. Hunter education, get it while it's hot. Get it now while it's summer, so you'll be ready come fall. More information, again, fw.ky.gov. More opportunity for Kentucky outdoor adventure still to come. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. We're back on Kentucky Afield Radio. Thanks for joining us. My name is Charlie Baglin. Talking with Seth Wheat, as we do each season, to promote outdoor adventure around our great state. I'm proud to be a Kentuckian. I was born here, went to school here, went to college here. I left for a few years, but then came home because this is where I wanted to be. This is what I wanted to use my broadcasting career to promote, our great state and the adventure that is here. And this summer, we need to wish a happy birthday to Kentucky.
A belated happy birthday to everyone listening and living in
June
Kentucky.
1 was the actual birthday?
Yeah. First weekend in June was the kind of kickoff for that. We're taking the entire year to celebrate the 225th birthday of the Commonwealth of Kentucky here.
What are some of the special things going on around the state?
There are so many different things going on. There are a number of festivals that are happening, music festivals and food festivals. What we have done is we've, again, built another webpage. ky225.com. You can go there, get all the information. There are events happening for the entire year, and there's an event happening in all of our 120 counties. So they vary in their offerings and what there is to do, but I'd encourage everybody to get online, ky225.com, see what's going on around you, or see what's going on in a part of the state you've never been to, and maybe use that as an excuse to go travel and see somewhere new.
I'm going to assume that KY225 would have some special prominence, like, say, my old Kentucky home, Lincoln birthplace. Some of the historical sites around the state may be doing a little extra.
Absolutely. And on that note, the Kentucky Historical Society, which is located here in downtown Frankfort, they have opened up a brand new exhibit highlighting, I think this is very interesting, some of the lesser known but still equally important figures in Kentucky history, people who are responsible for several inventions and new ideas, and some people who have really made an impact on Kentucky and the nation, and they've got that special exhibit up right now. So I'd encourage everybody to go down there and take a look at that if you happen to be in Frankfort.
One thing I would like to talk about on the show that we have neglected, agritourism. It's like 90%, maybe more, 95% of the land in Kentucky is privately owned. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is by farm owners, by landowners. We have these people to thank if you want to go fishing. The farm ponds that we have grown up or regularly go to fish, where we go to hunt, Boy Scout camporees. A lot of this we have to thank the private landowner, the farmer. Let's talk a little bit about agritourism.
In Kentucky, we have a number of privately owned farms that are really starting to look more to the idea of agritourism, opening up their properties for people, be it for their friends to come hunt and fish, or more often when we think agritourism, we think of places like Happy Jack's Pumpkin Farm and a number of other places throughout the state. Through efforts like that, and there is an entire department in the Kentucky Department of Agriculture devoted to this idea of agritourism. By doing more opportunities like that, it helps us promote the state, because I believe it makes for a more complete Kentucky experience. You know, people who maybe aren't from here, they can come here and they can see what farming is like here. They can see this is a lifestyle that's been around for so many years, but increasingly people are getting away from that. We're becoming more urbanized as a nation, and people are losing that connection to where their food comes from and what people did for a living, still to this day, but more so in decades past. So the idea of agritourism gets us a connection back to that. I think that's so important. Food comes from the grocery store. Yeah. But where do they get it? Exactly. A friend of mine raises chickens, so I know where, these things a lot of times, you grow up, you know these things. But if you don't,
It's an opportunity to go see where milk comes from dairy farms,
sure,
or chickens and eggs, and where our hamburgers and our bacon is coming from. I would encourage anyone to just Google these things online and see what kind of dairy tours or farm tours may be available near where they live.
There are opportunities all over the state and throughout the year, too. And then to piggyback off that idea, that's also leading to more things like Kentucky Proud Foods.
Oh, yes.
The Kentucky Proud campaign is so successful, and it's a big deal for us in tourism because we want to be able to offer to visitors to Kentucky locally made food, stuff they can't get where they come from, to kind of create an authentic Kentucky experience. And the ideas behind the Kentucky Proud program and getting people connected to our local farmers and producers is such an important thing in what we do. So it's very exciting, and we're really happy with it.
If you ever have the opportunity to eat some wild game, I don't know every menu in every restaurant, but I know a lot of folks will have the locally raised catfish, trout, and that's some mouth-watering food right there.
There is actually a restaurant in Louisville called Game, and they specialize in wild game. You can get deer, venison. You can get elk, bison, and other offerings that you don't normally see at your local restaurant.
Yeah.
And I've been there, and it's delicious.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a fun summer, Seth. What else you have on your list where we can go see and do?
One thing in particular I'd like to share with our listeners is an introductory course to rock climbing, which is happening at Carter Cave State Park this summer.
That is really becoming the rage. You can go on cruise ships, you can go to shopping malls and find these climbing walls, and people just eat it up.
Absolutely. It's there's new gyms popping up that people will join, almost as a form of exercise. They'll go climb at these climbing gyms. But this is a great opportunity to learn the sport and learn how to do it outdoors at the first Kentucky State Park to offer rock climbing. This is still relatively new.
Where is this?
Carter Cave State Park, which is obviously in Carter County, just outside the town of Olive Hill. Carter Caves opened up rock climbing and rappelling there just a few years ago. They were the first state park in Kentucky to offer this. And now this summer they're going to do a series of workshops. They've already done one. It happened back in June, but you can still get to one in July and one on August 7th. It's about a 3-hour course, and it kind of just introduces you to the sport. There's a lot of equipment and a lot of technique that's involved with rock climbing. It's not just climbing up a cliff face. You have to know what you're doing, follow proper safety procedures, and there's just a lot of equipment that will be new to you if you've never done this before. Learn the ropes, so to speak, and figure what it's all about.
I have rock climbing equipment right here. I'll show you. See this? This is a carabiner.
Yes, it is.
I use it as a keychain. This is a non-load-bearing carabiner.
Yes.
So you can only put your keys on it.
Exactly.
But if you put your body's weight on it...
Would not recommend that.
No. But I certainly love this nature-related recreation that you can find here now at Carter Cave State Park. I see also going on in Kentucky the Battle for Kentucky, the outdoor drama. Talking about Kentucky 225 a while ago. Seth, I don't know if you've done this before, but in Harrodsburg, Kentucky, and I remember when I was just a kid, my mother took me there, and we saw this play, and maybe it's still similar to what they're showing now, but it's going on, it looks like 2, 3, 4 days a week. It's right there at Fort Herod. But they have this theater group that will put on this play, and it talks about how the early settlers in the state had to come in and get along in the wilderness, and the food they ate, the animals they hunted, how to get along with the Native Americans. That looks like a pretty cool thing to see.
That does sound cool. I'm going to go check that out, because I have never been there, and I have not seen that production, but I always enjoy outdoor dramas, and especially when there's some kind of cool historical tie to Kentucky. They're, the first people who lived here. That's very neat.
The Battle for Kentucky is the name of this outdoor drama, but you can Google it, or you can find it on KentuckyTourism.com. Find out more about it. They do this every night at 8:30, and it's well worth seeing. I hate to say it, here we are in July. School will be starting back before you know it. If you're going to get outside and do some adventure tourism type things, do it now. Do it now, so you'll have time to maybe do 3 or 4 or 5 of these things before you have to get back to the business of living your life.
Yeah, don't waste any time, because like you said, it's not quite time, but it'll be here before we know it. It's time for back to school, and, then there you go. You can't take the kids out anymore.
So, Mr. Adventure, what else is on your list?
We have an exciting thing happening this year. It actually started back in May, It's called the Kentucky Waterman Series. And what this is a compilation of existing paddling races that are happening all over the state. And if you compete in enough of these races, you earn points to go towards becoming the winner of the Kentucky Waterman Series. There are a number of different divisions for men and women and I think children, single kayaks, tandem kayaks, stand-up paddle boards, all these different qualifications and divisions, but there are a number of opportunities left to still compete in these races. The first one coming up here is the KR255. This is a race on the entirety of the Kentucky River from Beattyville all the way to the mouth, just outside Carrollton.
Yeah.
So that's the first one coming up here in mid-July. And then there's still a number of other races in places like Henderson. There's a race on the Cumberland River in Barberville. There's something going on in northern Kentucky. But check that out. It's a brand new race series. Some of the events have been happening for previous years. Some of them are brand new and have just come about because of this. But check out the Kentucky Waterman Series and see what races are happening near you or are happening in a place you'd like to go visit, and check those out.
Seth Wheat, I am thrilled to death you came by again today, and I know you are a busy man. Wedding planner that you are.
Yeah.
That day will be here before you know it.
That's what people keep telling me. I'm looking forward to it, but people keep telling me it'll be here before I know it.
Well, we're happy, certainly happy for you and you and the Mrs. to be.
Thank you, sir.
So we look forward to your next trip back next season and fill us in what's going on in the fall.
Yeah, I can't wait. I love fall. We've talked about that. I'm already looking forward to the fall. So I'll see y'all then.
After the break, our fishing report, and we'll talk about the mega, colossal, spectacular, dramatic, once-in-a-lifetime, is that enough adjectives, event happening in western Kentucky in August. It's next on Kentucky Afield Radio. Back on Kentucky Afield Radio, my name is Charlie Baglin. Let me suggest something. The Kentucky Safe Boat app. All kinds of helpful information, such as a marina finder, helping you get around on the lakes when every cove starts to look alike. It helps you keep yourself found. It lets you text a friend a float plan, safety equipment checklist, blood alcohol estimator, and a lot more. Free, and is found on Google Play as well as the App Store. The Kentucky Safe Boat app. It's time now for our fishing report.
This is Tom with your fishing report from the Northeast. You can try largemouth bass along the deeper edges of the weed beds and pockets within the beds. Use worms rigged up in your favorite manner. Now is also the time to start looking for the white bass jumps out on the lake. Best course of action is to fish for whatever you'd like to do normally, but always keep a pole rigged up to the cast master for slinging into those jumps when you see them. This is also the time of the year where we get a 2 or 3 week period of really high muskie activity, and that's kind of kicked off within the last couple of days too. Grayson Lake is also right at summer pool. Thermocline is about 20 foot deep or so. Anglers are picking up some of the catfish scattered around the lake. Hybrids should also be picking up. Look for them in the lower portion of the lake in the Bruin area. Other than that, you have summer stream fish, and there are lots of opportunities out there. I hope this report gives you some places to head to. Wherever you go, good luck and stay safe.
Hi, this is John Williams with the Fish Report for Southeast Kentucky. At the Lake Cumberland tailwaters, our Krill Clark's report seen a lot of stalker-sized trout being caught, both rainbows and brooks, especially when the flow is low. Those can be caught on corn, night crawlers, also spinner baits. They're also seeing a lot of the fly fishermen having good luck catching trout down there. Besides that, seen an occasional walleye and striped bass, but mostly stalker-sized trout. Elsewhere on the lake, getting some reports of some walleye being caught 25 to 30 feet deep on main lake shorelines. Most of those caught on bottom bouncers with a night crawler rig. And elsewhere, this is a great time to float a river. We've got the Upper Cumberland River, Buck Creek, South Fork, Kentucky, all offer great smallmouth and sunfish fisheries. Those can be caught on a variety of baits. As always, good luck, good fishing.
This is Rob Rold in the Northwestern Fishery District. Largemouth bass fishing has been fair. Anglers are using jigs 15 to 20 feet deep at no wind to pick up a few bass, as well as catching a few on some soft plastic early and late in the day. The most productive area seems to be about 20 feet deep, regardless of your method. At rough, it's a bit shallower. Oxygen's dropping out a little bit sooner there, so if you're fishing at rough, you should be targeting about the 12 to 15 foot deep range. Don't forget our Fins Lakes. Panther Creek Park, Yellow Creek Park, and Wayman Morris in Owensboro, as well as Bevel Park in Litchfield and Madisonville City Park in Madisonville. All stocked with channel catfish recently, and the Owensboro Fins Lakes have also been stocked with some nice hybrid bluegill. Anglers are doing well on all of those. Be safe on the water. Always wear your life jackets.
A cold one on a sunny day. What could be more perfect?
My life changed forever when I was 13. That's the day a drunk boater ran me over.
Too many know the cost.
I lost my leg as a result, and a brain injury robbed me of my short-term memory.
Sober boating saves more than lives.
It saves doctor visits. It saves prosthetics. It saves time in court. It saves worry. It saves the pain of a mother. It saves nightmares. It saves time in lawyers' offices. It saves stares everywhere I go. It saves a billion awkward situations. It saves endless surgeries. It saves tears. It saves paperwork. It saves post-traumatic stress. What are you looking at? Sober boating could have saved me. So don't drink and boat.
Something from the cooler? How about an ice-cold regret?
Put that note on your boat, in case you forget.
Party on a boat? Safe. Kentucky Boating and Conservation Officers and boating tragedy survivors everywhere remind you, sober boating saves lives. This is Kentucky Afield Radio. My name is Charlie Baglin. In the spirit of summer adventure, we would be remiss if we didn't pay some attention to an event that's really putting Kentucky on the map this year. On August 21st, we will have visitors from around the world and from many states across the nation. They'll be converging on western Kentucky. It's the Great American Total Eclipse of the Sun. Because Kentucky Afield Radio is a statewide program, and we know that Western Kentucky will get a lot of visitors from across the state, we'll do our due diligence as a public affairs radio broadcast to help spread the word of what's going on. Likely a once-in-a-lifetime event to be seen here in Kentucky. And what I'll call the epicenter of the eclipse is just a few miles north of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, there in Christian County. And what I mean by the epicenter is that is the spot where there will be more total darkness for a longer period than at any other place on planet Earth. NASA's going to be there, major networks will be set up, and I bet you too. Thousands of your closest friends will be there. 1:24, I think it was, in the afternoon on August 21. It will be essentially like nightfall. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if businesses were closed, schools let out, people call in sick to make that trip to Western Kentucky to see this. Mark Stephen Williams, I know, will be there. He is an astronomer, and for years and years he was a fellow broadcaster connected to the Kentucky Afield Radio Show, but here now in the astronomy role. And Mark, you are a man in demand these days.
Hey, Charlie, it's great to be with you again. How are you?
The eclipse is coming. Is everything still on schedule?
Well, I mean, unless there's a huge shift in the cosmos that I haven't heard about, yes, on Monday, August 21st, early in the afternoon, we're going to see our first total solar eclipse in the United States since 1979, and the very first in Kentucky since 1869.
What makes it ground zero?
Well, you get at least a partial eclipse over virtually all of North America, Charlie. And then within about a 70-mile wide band, you will get the totality, and totality is really the holy grail for this, because between about Carbondale, Illinois, and Franklin, Kentucky, you get about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Now, and inside that totality band is about 70 miles wide. But anywhere along that central path, if you're in Oregon, it'll come ashore. The fantastic thing about this, first of all, imagine the eclipse will begin over the North Pacific Ocean. And imagine seeing a sunrise with the sun in eclipse.
That would be interesting. Oh, man. And that will occur.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Early in the morning, total eclipse for people will move from coast to coast in about 90 minutes. I had a chance to visit with some of the fine folks in Marion in Crittenden County, and I mentioned to them, you know, you're going to have an eclipse. And people say, well, isn't that something that's just happening in Hopkinsville? Well, no. All of North America will see at least a partial eclipse, and for those along that center line, you'll get totality. I'm going to be at Ken Lake State Resort Park. We're a little bit south of the center line, Well, we'll get 2 minutes. That will be the way things fall into place. And the serious eclipse chasers, I mean, if the weather is nice, we may see 1 million people come in to the counties in western Kentucky if the weather is going to be nice that day. Hopkinsville has taken the lead. I drove right through Kate Is and Hopkinsville, and they've got signs up. The folks there in Hopkinsville told me several years ago when I started inquiring about a place to have my eclipse party, they said they started getting inquiries about this in 2007. The eclipse will start in the central time zone a little bit before noon, about 11:55. The maximum we will get, or the totality, where depending on where you are, will be about 1:24, 1:25 in the afternoon. Of course, that translates to 2:24 in the Eastern time zone, and then the eclipse, it'll be about 3 hours. I mean, communities are trying to prepare for instance, I was at one of the eclipse planning conferences last year, just about a year ago, in Carbondale, and Randy Reed, who's the Deputy Emergency Management Director in Lyon County, which is Eddyville, said we may see potentially the population of our county is 8,000 people, and 800 of those are in the state pen at Eddyville. And what happens if 150,000 people come in to see us? So the issue is going to be traffic. Hopkinsville certainly may see a couple hundred, 300, 400,000 people. So
this is Kentucky Afield Radio. We often at a time we're talking about wildlife and conservation, outdoor recreation. But one thing that ties astronomy with this show is that a lot of the constellations out there are named for wildlife.
Right.
There's a bunch of them. I mean, the bear, the archer. How many are there, really?
Well, everybody knows Ursa Major, the big bear, and Ursa Minor, the little bear, the big constellations that are up in the sky, Big Dipper, Little Dipper, Leo the lion, Taurus the bull, and the scorpion. And a lot of these, Charlie, come out of Greek mythology. People are surprised when I tell them this. We only have 88 constellations. It's not like there are thousands of them. There are only 88 constellations.
That's global, right? So if you were in the South Pole, you would look up, you would see other constellations. But anywhere, from any point on the globe, there are only 88.
You're exactly right, because the constellations we see here in the northern hemisphere are different. You get down below the equator, or even, constellation Scorpius for us right here kind of skirts along the southern horizon. It's a really nice constellation for summertime viewing. But if you get down near the equator, it's higher up in the sky. So there are 88 of them, and before we went on the air, we talked about this, and I did a little count, and by my count on the list, I show 42 of those 88 constellations as either animals or creatures. Now, some of these can be, the mythological flying horse, or there's a dragon, so on and so forth. And then we have 21 of them are instruments that were named by Lacaille in the 18th century, and these are things like Circinus, which is a compass. Telescopium is obvious. That's a telescope, so on and so forth. And then, but the rest of them, we have actually 13 zodiacal constellations. Some of those fall under the mythology. Some of them are just animals. We have, the scorpion and Orion. Orion's the hunter. Well, the scorpion supposedly killed Orion, so they're placed in the sky at opposite parts of the sky, so they're never in the sky at the same time. As Orion's setting and Scorpius is up in the sky, so you have things like, let me see here, Aries the ram, Aquila the eagle, Cygnus the swan. So you have an eagle and a swan right up there high in your sky. And again, probably the most memorable, Leo the lion, Scorpius the scorpion, Ursa Major, Ursa Minor.
Pisces the fish. How about that?
Exactly. That's just coming up in the really early morning sky right now. So you have fishes, you have swans, you have dolphins, you have little horses, cranes, water serpents, water snakes, so on and so on and so forth.
There are wildlife creatures all over the sky.
Yes, sir.
You just look up and find them. Finding them is a different thing. You were on the show about a year ago, and this subject came up, that there are maps, and I said there are also apps, and you didn't use apps. You prefer maps.
Right.
The one I have, and there are probably a jillion of them out there, is called Night Sky. But
right.
If you wanted to use the old maps, where do you recommend we look?
Well, there's a great resource. It's an online resource. It's called skymaps.com. It has the map for the month, which not only shows you the constellations that will be up in your primetime evening, but it gives you the positions, and I'm glad you mentioned this, of the primetime planets.
Skymaps.com.
Yes, sir.
I was looking here. I'd done a little bit of research before I called you up, Mark, and I was curious, what about wildlife during this eclipse? How are they going to react to it? And I found this blurb. It was from Atlantic Daily. They say specifically birds will all go into roost.
Mm-hmm.
Nocturnal insects such as crickets, cicadas will begin calling, believing that at 1 o'clock in the afternoon it's actually nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
And mosquitoes may even come out to bite. Does any of this surprise you?
No, well, I mean, it's nature. They'll believe that it's getting dark, it's going to become nighttime. Livestock, wildlife will believe that night is coming because you have that shadow. Situate yourself on a high hill. You'll see the sky darkening to the west of you. It'll kind of become twilight, like a giant black whale as it approaches, as that shadow whips along the line. Then, during totality, you'll see it kind of all around you, and during the 2 minutes or so of totality, we'll have planets Venus, Mars, Mercury, and Jupiter pop out. The position of the sun on that August day will be right at the front foot of Leo the Lion. So you'll see the constellation, talk about wildlife, you'll see Leo the Lion pop out.
Well, Mark, I appreciate you coming on the show. Maybe we'll talk again before the big day.
Charlie, it's great to be with you. Also, viewing totality, you have to be very, very careful about that. You never look directly at the sun. Hit me up on the website, because we have safe solar viewers, eclipse shades, that you can not only use to watch this eclipse, but to look for sunspots and that sort of thing. So we're at stargazerastronomy.com, also on Facebook.
We'll look for you there, Mark. Thanks.
Charlie, nice to hear you again. Take care.
Kentucky astronomer Mark Stephen Williams. Look at the night sky tonight. Tell me how many wild animals you see. Up next, the official spokeswoman for all things eclipse in the city of Hopkinsville. She joins us as we wrap up our show on Kentucky Summer Adventure Tourism. Stay with us. You're listening to Kentucky Afield Radio. We're back with our final few minutes on Kentucky Afield Radio. This is Charlie Baglin. This state has Red River Gorge, Natural Bridge, a moonbow at Cumberland Falls. In Kentucky, it's true. Our outdoors are outstanding. Now, there's one thing that's probably the biggest event in the world of nature, and it's kind of taken many people by surprise. The very first word of this came around 10 years ago with the Great American Eclipse. The best spot on Earth to see it is in Hopkinsville. Personally, I think being on a boat on Lake Barkley would be kind of fun, too. I know the TV crew is going to be doing that. And Brooke Jung from the city of Hopkinsville joins us now.
Hi, Charlie. How are you?
Well, I'm better now since I'm talking to the most popular girl in western Kentucky.
I'm very familiar with Kentucky Afield, and my dad is a huge fan, so I know he'll be excited just about you guys covering some solar eclipse stuff and talking about it, and anything we can do to spread the word to the entire bluegrass and let people know that this event is coming. We essentially are going to be doubling our population that weekend, and we currently have reservations from folks from 33 different states and 12 different countries that are coming to Hopkinsville.
I love Hopkinsville. It's a great place, especially if you're headed down to either of the big lakes. I'm curious, have you already seen a boost to your tourism, people just coming into town just out of curiosity? Let's check this town out before August 21st.
Yeah, we definitely have people that are stopping through to check it out, whether they're taking a road trip and add this to their map along their way, or maybe they're making a special trip just to come and check out where they want to set up their telescopes or where they want to be stationed that day.
I'm wondering, if you're having everyone in the world coming in, do you expect a nightmare of traffic? And what about traffic patrol and stopping on the side of the road? How does all that play into this?
The path of totality goes all the way from Oregon to South Carolina. And so even the U.S. Department of Transportation is really focused on traffic patterns and traffic flow on that Monday. We, on a local level, are obviously going to be having our local law enforcement dispersed throughout the community. We are getting some reinforcements from the Kentucky State Police, as well as hopefully additional reinforcements through the National Guard. So hopefully some of that will come through as well. But again, just making sure people know where they're going, that we have easily labeled viewing areas so people know they can just pull into different spots and have a great view. But our main goal, too, is cut down on people just stopping on the side of the road, because due to safety and, making sure people are staying safe and getting them to a good viewing location where they'll have a wide open view. My suspicion is a lot of people don't know where they're going. They don't do this that often. Sure. No, that's a great point. A friend of mine said, well, I think we just drive down there anywhere and just pull over the side of the road and you're probably good. I said, well, yeah, maybe, maybe not. How much signage is going to be there in place, or do you anticipate people who own land on the side of the road that say, hey, come over, park in my field? Will we see a lot of that? Absolutely. And, we're kind of encouraging people to do that. If they have a wide open field that they're able to park cars in, absolutely, allow folks to pull in there and write off exits and different things. And again, our signage is going to be prominent as soon as you enter into the path of totality. We're working on a state level, and all of the digital message boards that are coming this way will all be directed to pointing people to places they can view the eclipse, as well as working on large signage to go on the Western Kentucky Parkway and Pennyroyal Parkway and different areas that can direct people to viewing locations, but then also throughout our community. We'll have specific event directional signage that will direct people to the closest viewing location and whatever they're trying to get to, and making sure that our traffic control officers are able to direct people as quick and timely as possible. There has to absolutely be an X marks the spot where you're right dead center for the longest time of totality. Do you know where that X is? I do. That location where the moon's axis is closest to the Earth is located on Princeton Road in the northern part of Christian County. And so that area is going to be open on the day of the eclipse for folks to roll in and view the eclipse from that point. That's also where NASA will be set up. They'll be broadcasting live. We have media outlets coming from all over the world that will be headquartered at that location, getting footage of not only the eclipse, but also all of the visitors that are out there getting to witness this and watching this maybe for the first time for a lot of them. So that is definitely an area of focus, and we know that that's going to be a high-traffic area in that northern part of the county. Let's just say somebody's going to get up that morning and drive 3, 4, 5 hours to the area. Is that even advisable? Can they still get, if they leave early in the morning, can they still get there and find a decent place to go? Yeah, absolutely. We anticipate a lot of our traffic on that Monday is going to be folks driving in from around the region, because you won't be able to see this in Lexington and Louisville and the eastern part of the state. When you think about it, that 70-mile band is pretty narrow in the grand scheme of the Bluegrass State. So encouraging people to come over and enjoy this with us, because, to be so close to totality and to be so close to this indescribable event and to miss out just on a few percentages of totality being outside of that band, we want everybody to get into that path and be able to witness this event. Our website is a great resource. People can look up public viewing locations and kind of have a place in mind, and we'll be doing live updates of all of our different locations on our Facebook and social media pages. But again, our website, which is eclipseville.com, is a great place for people to learn more about all of the different options that are available to them. The great thing about this path of totality is, again, it's 70 miles wide and it goes through 90 miles of Kentucky. So I encourage everyone, get as close to that center line as possible, because that's really going to determine how much totality duration you have, so how long you get to stand in the darkness. On the outskirts of either of those paths, it'll be about 20 seconds, but then the closer you get to that center line, that stays around 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So you want to get as close to that line as possible, but this path of totality goes through about 13 counties within Kentucky. So lots of great options to choose from, and this is a great opportunity on a regional level as well for folks to get to explore different counties in the western part of the state and get to take advantage of all the things that the western region has to offer. Brooke, is there an app out there so you can sort of like follow along on a map so you know when you're right in the center of that blue line? There is. So we actually have partnered with a company called Palaroo, and that's P-A-L-A-R-O-O, and you can look for Hopkinsville solar eclipse, and when you pull up the map feature, it'll show you where all these events are taking place, but then there's also a big star that will show you exactly where you're located and where that point of greatest eclipse is located.
How many times have you given this speech? Can you do it in your sleep?
I can do it. I think I do it in my sleep, actually. I think my husband's recording me like sleep talking about the eclipse. I think I say solar eclipse more than I say my name. So.
All right, Brooke, thanks a million.
All right, thank you.
A helpful hint, never look at the bare sun with your bare eyes. Solar viewing glasses are cheap, and you'll find them everywhere these days. Even a welder's mask will help. Eclipseville.com and Stargazer Astronomy are those two websites. We're out of time. This is Charlie Baglin inviting you to join us again in a week, and we'll go inside outdoors again here on Kentucky Afield Radio.